Welcome to the Creative Play and Podcast Network. Join us as we share our favorite RPGs, one-shot games, tabletop games, reviews, and convention panels. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Kelly, aka Trixie from Ragnarok and Roll, assigned to Ragnarok Story, and Tilda Wimblewick from D&D Journey of the 5th Edition. First off, I would just like to say thank you to everyone for listening to our varied adventures, as well as for rating us on iTunes and rpgpodcast.com. If you haven't rated us yet, we would greatly appreciate it if you could. And if you're looking for more ways to support our efforts, we are now on Patreon, a great site where you can help us continue making more podcasts, as well as some special surprises for our patrons. If you can, please look us up at www.patreon.com/cppn. Every little bit helps. And again, thank you for listening.
Authors.
Yeah, writers, oh no, who are pitching their books.
We love you for it.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. Come buy some today.
How else do we find out about you, see?
So, yes, welcome to the God knows how many annual authors panel. We've been doing this since, God, it's like I've been doing this since Wild West 5. He's been doing it longer than I have.
Yeah, I have been at every Wild West con there has been, so this is a particularly sad con.
Yeah. So I'm Jeremy Reynolds. I also sole proprietor of Jester Productions, which is also my original pen name.
I'm David Lee Summers. Like we say, I've been doing this ever since Wild West Con 1. I did the reading. I read from Owl Dance before it even came out as a book. So Owl Dance has definitely gone with us throughout Wild West Con. And I've got a couple examples of some of my newer books. I've been writing and publishing now for, since the 90s, whatever, but really about 30 years at this point. So.
And my name's George Barret. This is my second time doing a panel like this, so I'm the fresh face of the group.
He's the rookie.
So
it's not me anymore.
Takes the pressure off.
Exactly. But yeah, it's like Wild West 5, it's like I was running around in a haversack and I was asking who else is on the authors panel, and they're like, you're it.
Like, what?
Oh! So I recruited this guy, and then it's like in some form or another, it's like we've been doing this ever since. And so yeah, it's like we typically keep it informal, Q&A session, talk about the latest stuff, answer questions that you might have about, hey, how do I get published, or anything like that, or what do you have that's new?
You can always make up stuff.
Yeah, we can do it on the fly. It's like,
I guess how many of you in the audience are aspiring authors?
just one.
It's you.
I think I know someone who's being shot.
I'm not. Make that face one more time.
That's going to be featured on the Facebook community.
Skepticism. Oh no!
And
Gravity works.
And we've had a casualty.
This half cat.
So let's
That
see.
Newton guy was onto something.
So yeah, let's see. We didn't get to do this last year because of our mass exodus, and this year I asked Dina and Jason, it's like, please, for the love of God, don't put us on the last day, because that's kind of counterproductive for us. We try to pitch our books early so that you can then find us in the vendor's room. Doing it last day, yeah, not especially when we were like scheduled dead last. It's like not good.
So here's a question for
yes.
you. What do you find most challenging about the business of being an author?
Advertising.
Yeah, it's really getting the word out to people, and I mean even if you're a professional writer with the backing of a large company behind you, it's all you have to do is walk into a Barnes and Noble and you essentially see the competition that's out there. And it's like, what makes you stand out to a reader compared to all those other books? And my background is, as well as being a writer, I'm also an editor. I've edited anthologies, I've edited magazines over the years. I used to tell people, it's like, my perspective really changed in that on the whole rejection part of the process, because if you think about it, when I'm sending a story in to an editor to get feedback, it's like once I started realizing how many stories come in to any given editor, it really became, to me, clear that it was like walking into a bookstore, except that the difference was I was expected to send a letter to everyone who I did not buy, in addition to the ones that I bought. I became much more appreciative of why form letters get sent out to people. But anyway, the short answer is, it's just getting, how do you stand out? How do you make any kind of an impression on readers? I think we're always looking for the new thing that's going to try to attract some attention. Right now, sort of the latest thing we're trying is I've been working with Sealy Studios here in town, which is a movie production company, and we're actually doing audiobooks, and they're full cast, full music audiobooks, and we just came out with the first anthology of those, and we're working on the second one now, using some local director talent and some international talent. We have Paul Reeves over in England is one of our directors, directing a story by Bob Vardaman. And part of the goal of that is you kind of, audio allows you to kind of touch a little bit of the TV and the movie type, IMDb type marketing and so forth. I don't know whether it's going to get us a lot more, but I think that's the key, is you have to kind of keep trying new ways to get out in front of people and distinguish yourself and distinguish your brand, whatever that brand is.
It's like I actually started editing services this past year as well, which saved my bacon physically. This past year, it's like two of these for George here. It's like I've edited. It was Sanguine Elf and Space Station Flannan. Pulled his bacon out of the fire because like he had an editor that it's like just bailed on you, or halfway through the project, and so it was like,
and I already paid him.
That which really hurt. Unfortunately it's, especially with newer authors, that's why it's like I offer like a flat low rate for brand new indie authors now, because it's like some of the like bigger names just have gotten so predatory, and it's like, oh, you're a new author, well, you need to pay this fee, and then you need to pay that fee, and then you need to pay our editor, and then you need to pay our cover artist, and this and that and other thing. It's like my first two books, Shadow and Cheyenne, still have yet to make a profit because I paid so much out to Steam Romance, and I then had to buy my publishing rights back in order just to continue the series.
So I've got a friend who has written her first book, and she's got no money, no budget whatsoever.
Right.
For editing.
Right.
What would you tell this person to convince them not to do something like AI editing?
Oh yeah,
do,
for love, God, don't.
You know, not to do. What can I tell her that is going to sell her on the idea that she must to get her book published, whatever that looks like?
Especially if you're doing Kindle Direct Publishing, there is whenever you're setting up your book to be sold on Amazon, there is a specific question that they ask you now: is AI used in any form of the creation of this book? And if you use AI, you are obligated to check that. Because if they find out otherwise, then they'll yank your book off. They'll flag it, yank your book off, and.
Well, I'm not sure that she's using AI, but I know that she's not paying a physical human being to edit the book, and I'm afraid that it's going to get published, and when you write something and then you read it yourself, you will fill in the missing blanks. You will miss things that are obvious to somebody who's not familiar with the subject matter, and I'm afraid that this is what's going to happen to my friend.
Yeah, my cardinal rule is never edit your own work, and because you need a. Yes, I'm looking at you. I'm not going to name names or anything here.
But I got an A in English.
But it always helps to have someone who has an outside perspective, who is also going to ask you the tough questions of why are you doing this? I don't see how this works, and just flag things down in the story in order to make the story better. Because an editor is just as invested in your story as you are. And they want to help you succeed because that's what they're getting paid for. And so they have as much writing on this as anybody else, as the author themselves. And some of the best advice I've ever heard came from Lauren Coleman, who is now the executive CEO of Catalyst Games, and he says, "Don't fear the red ink." It's an AI is going to look at the algorithms, but they're not going to sit there and analyze everything for syntax, for context, for inflection.
For voice.
They're just going to go. It's just going to do a straight formula of grammar rules of whether or not it fits or not. Because once you start writing and you're an author and everything, and you get published, it's like you start to feel out what rules you can break.
Well, let me interject one other aspect of this is one thing that's come up. You might be familiar. There's been some news about this Anthropic lawsuit that's out there for basically AI stealing authors' works.
Yeah.
It turns out there is now a thing going on where some of the AIs are offering editing in the style of certain famous editors, and those they have also not paid the editor for that. But again, it comes down to it's still a synthesis of how that editor tends to look at things. And I think editing, in terms of convincing your friend, I think a human editor intuits things, sees things, asks those hard questions of you that a machine, the machine is there is programmed to try to please you.
Yeah.
And to try to give you kind of the answers you want to hear. A human doesn't necessarily want to give you the answers you want to hear. It wants to make it the strongest possible story.
And make it better.
And even if money really is a concern, at least go join a writers group that's basically free and get people to read through the story a week at a time and ask questions about it.
That's awesome. I've read a chapter or two of her work, and I understand the ideas that she's going for, but I'm not an editor. Mm-hmm. I can read it and I can say this voice doesn't quite sound like this character, but I don't know. And every time I've mentioned you need to get an editor, and it can't just be me, it can't just be your friends, it's got to be somebody.
Right, definitely not friends or family.
She says she's invested every dime that she has available in just putting it to paper. She doesn't have, and I'm trying to find an argument that says find the money somehow.
Yeah.
And I can't get past that.
And I think another element of that is don't rush the publication of your book.
Right.
I mean, it always feels like I've put all this time so far into this baby. I need to get it out there.
Yeah.
And I think every time I felt like I've made a mistake, it's been because I feel like I tried to rush the story out into market for whatever reason.
Yep.
You can always find excuses to rush things into market, but in fact, almost every great book, you hear stories of the length of time it took for the author to both reflect on their own work, because you go back and read your own stuff from a year or 2 years before, and you suddenly kind of go, "Oh my God, what was I?
What
thinking?"
the hell?
Yeah.
Who wrote this crap? Oh yeah, me.
And I think even at the very worst case scenario, if you do edit yourself, at a minimum, give yourself a year to 2 years before you even try to do it.
And there are people who are going to come at you with examples of people who have done things in record time. Like, good example was the author of Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest wrote that in 6 days.
Deadline.
6 days.
They had a deadline.
Probably. Huh?
You have to understand, those are very, very few and far between. Anything really good, as Stephen King put it, any great piece of fiction that you write, it's a bit like rowing across the Atlantic in an open bathtub. It's going to feel very lonely, and you're wondering if you're going in the right direction. But just keep paddling, and you'll eventually hit something.
Just keep writing. Just keep writing.
Well, it's true.
Yeah. Well, it's like, especially since I tell him that all the time. It's like, he's like, no, I really want to get this story done. It's like, give me the fucking manuscript already, and go on to your next work in progress. It's like,
And the other thing about Ken Kesey, who is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, is he was a professional newspaper writer.
Yeah.
And actually wrote literally every day for professional publication and took it to an editor. So
Yeah, and
6
he's
days
also-
was not the end of the story.
And he's also the exception, not the rule. So,
Right.
I mean, teach their own. I would say come by our booths, get our business cards, and have your friend at least reach out to us.
Grab her by the ear and come over and have her introduce her.
That works too. If she's here, by all
Selling
means.
her book here. So.
I mean, one or both of us could. I mean,
we're trying to be as supportive as we can because we like the idea that she's got. She's got some good writing ideas, but I would just be afraid that because she's not got a second or third or fourth pair of eyes looking at it, that things that so I'm a programmer, and when I write code, if I look at code that I wrote 2, 3, 4 years ago, I can look at it and say, why did I do it that way?
Yeah.
But she's older and wants to get it all out and wants to get to book 2 and book 3 and wants to get, is seeing that time ticking down, and I'm just afraid that she won't get to book 2 or book 3 because book 1 won't be what it could be if she took the right steps. But I don't have a way of explaining it to her.
Well, bring her by our booths. We can talk to her. At the very least, talk to her and everything. And like I said, it's like I do introductory rates, and even the rates that I have on my website, it's like I don't firmly adhere to. It's like I try to fit people's budgets, especially in the indie authors, because I know that people are trying to keep their costs down, and that is true. You want to keep your costs as low as possible so that you can then profit off of a book, ideally. And it's like I've done that with my Book of Cain series, and it's like and I happen to just hit the right wavelength with groups on Reddit and on Discord and everything, and so it's like I've already made my publishing cost with my Book of Cain series. But my Jaeger series, I'm still here. I am 10 years later, 11 years later, still suffering from my earlier books. So yeah, it's like bring her by, have her talk with us, and we can make something work.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, how do you train to be an editor?
By writing a lot, and
Right, there's no official way to do that.
Not really.
Okay.
They're getting your degree in English, there are certain pathways at certain universities you could do that, and a lot of the professional editors out there kind of did, but a lot of them also came up as writers. in various pathways. If you look at like the famous editors, like go back to the Gordon Van Gelder and Isaac Asimov and people like that. And it's like
He's very logical.
Right. I mean, I kind of started by working in the science writing point of view, and you kind of end up doing the peer review thing. So everything passed to everyone, and you're kind of expected to catch as much as you can. Of course, there you're trying for clarity in writing.
I was going to say scientific and emotional are two different.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why you want the person, not the AI, because the AI is not going to necessarily. It might mimic emotions, but that's sometimes different than what
Are you
you're
saying
trying
people are
to.
using AI to write books?
Yes, there
Well,
are
both write and edit.
write,
Well, see, I understand the editing.
write, edit,
But
and do
how do you
covers.
instruct the machine to write emotionally?
Yeah, and I mean, I will argue. I will argue with you.
Yeah.
You're asking the choir.
Yeah, you're preaching to the choir up there.
But I will argue with you that it's like essentially we talk about writers appropriating other cultures and so forth. I think a machine writing a human experience is machines doing appropriation of human behavior.
Especially when it's scanning books that are already existing and then.
And it's not
Regurgit-
writing, it's mimicking.
It is.
So
It
understand
absolutely is.
that AI doesn't think, doesn't understand, doesn't comprehend.
Right.
It tokenizes words and it looks for patterns.
Yeah.
And when it finds patterns, it puts those together. That's all it's doing. It may look like thought, it may look like understanding. You ask it to build a ham sandwich, it doesn't know what ham is. It doesn't know what tastes good. It will give you something that is based on the pattern of 10,000 other sandwiches.
Right.
Hopefully it doesn't kill you.
You end up with green ham.
Yes.
Yes, he's sitting right behind me
I was
right
going
now.
to say,
Robotic overlords, he's right behind me. Right behind.
I was going to say, I have a degree in English, and I suddenly understood this one quotation that my professor once gave me from Ray Bradbury. If you really want an education, go to a library. And
Yeah.
because you have to.
And what?
You have to read.
Maybe read.
No, that's too much.
I know that sounds scary to some people, but it is true because for two reasons. One is you look through other authors, you start to see, this is clever. How did they do that? Or that was nice. How did they do that? You start looking at it as more of a craft person rather than as a reader. And secondly, sometimes you'll come across a book and say, "This sucks.
Yep.
I could do better than this."
That's inspiration.
Do it.
And both Ray Bradbury and Stephen King say things to the effect that every now and again you'll run into this writer who will say, "I never have time to read anything. I'm so busy writing my own stuff." And
Yeah,
it's like,
well,
you're
you
not
might-
necessarily bringing anything into your own machine to reprocess and rethink about.
Yes.
Stephen King says, "I never trust a writer who tells me he never reads."
Yeah.
Because you can always find time to read. You can, if nothing else, you can read while you're standing in line at the grocery store. Yeah, you can
Read
get
while
5
you're getting
minutes.
writer's block.
Yeah.
And it's like newer authors are also kind of hard to So you get some of the new authors who think I just wrote the greatest masterpiece ever, and it's like this is going to be a bestseller, and then they try to edit it themselves, market it themselves, put it out there themselves, and then it flops, and they're like going, "Oh well, it's a problem with the readers." No, it's because you didn't get an editor. For starters, it's like you need someone to give you that reality check, and a computer AI just is not going to give that to you. The AI is there to appease you, not as David said, and it's like some of the back and forth that I've gone over with my editors at Catalyst for the BattleTech stories have just been insane. It's like they're like, "Yeah, this doesn't work," and there's other times I pitch stories to them, and they're just like, "Yeah, no, don't, no." And
Less technicality.
yeah. Well, kind of, sort of.
You said how weapons work?
Battle tech, yeah. It's big stompy
It's a
robots.
sad
And,
It's basically a game. It's an old.
yeah, it's an old.
Tabletop board game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
And
it's
awesome
been going on
games.
for 40 years now, and it started off as a FASA board game of okay, which big stumpy robot can beat another big stumpy robot, and it just evolved from there. When I wrote my first book, Shadow, I tried to like flush all of the new author syndrome out of my mind. It's like these guys are editors, they're professionals, they know what they're talking about. And I pretty much went with it, all the changes that they recommended, except for one. And I'll never forget this because this was so hilarious in retrospect, because they wanted me to change the heroine's mother, because I had her as this cruel, bitter, aristocratic, always ultra religious, looking down their nose at everyone, holier than thou, always denigrating her daughter and everything like this. And the editors kept on telling me to change it. It's like, and I'm like, no, this is staying as, this is the only thing I'm digging my heels in. This stays. And back and forth, change it, no. And they're finally going, what's the big deal? Nobody is this cruel. I go, let me give you my grandmother's phone number. Within 15 minutes, you will call me back apologizing, and you will say, wow, you tamed her down. And they're like going, oh, okay. Then to test it, after it got published, just to test it without any context, I gave the book to a couple of my cousins, and I said, let's get past the spicy stuff. Just start here and read till the end of the chapter. No context, whatever. They're reading it, their jaws drop, and they go, oh my God, you put grandma in here. Nailed it.
Well, and I think another good example of this is editors, it can be a dialogue with editors. It's a discussion.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a one-off and done. And a good example is from my short story in the latest edition of the Forgotten Realms books, which unfortunately did not get published in time for me to have it here today.
Welcome to the
this
club.
weekend. But I have a story set at Shalem Colony, which was a utopian colony that was outside of Las Cruces, New Mexico in the 1880s, 1890s. And I spelled Jehovah the way the people of Shalem Colony spelled it, which is Jehovih. And the editor writes back and says, that's not the way you spell Jehovah, and corrected it throughout. And then I went up to the Masonic cemetery, which is like a block and a half from my house, took a picture of the tombstone where it's spelled that way, and so
let's try this again from the top.
Okay, and then she came back and said, okay, let's find a way to bring that into context so we know that that's the way that they spelled it. And I said, okay, yes, that's a fair thing we can do. So,
and I tell my clients, if you can justify it, we'll run with it.
Right.
We just might need to.
It should be a dialogue, right? It should
Right.
be.
Yes,
the
absolutely.
editor should be able to challenge you on topics, and if you can support that to come back,
Exactly.
then stick with it. But
Yeah.
if
Tell
you-
that to this one all the time. Sorry to pick on you, but it's like
Hey, I'm the rookie. It's okay. And to that effect, when it comes to writing, when the new author syndrome that he was talking about, like there's this tendency to look at your work like it's your child.
Mhm.
Like there's this expression of no mother has an ugly child.
I'm gonna protect my baby.
But you can't look at your writing like that, because it's not a person. You're looking at it like you're building something, like you're building this house of cards.
and that's my friend is her writing is her child, and
Yeah.
it's sacrosanct, and no one else can tell her.
Yeah, and
I think you have to look at it as your writing is your 32-year-old child who needs to get the hell out of your house.
that
It's like,
works.
I grew you, I raised you, I nurtured
Get
you,
the F
now
out.
go away
Yeah, go make some money.
and experience the world.
and sometimes they need friends that are not you to give them that advice.
Yes, get out of your mom's basement.
Yeah, because without naming names, it's like I do have one client who is suffering from the new author syndrome and everything. They think that their work is great as it is, and it's like, why are you giving me all these notes? Why are you? It's like, why is the page bleeding? It's like for starters, you need chapters. So, not to nitpick or anything, but chapter breaks are a thing.
Now that I guess K.W. Jeter was at the con and said that his publishers don't want steampunk anymore. He says, go to independent publishers if you want to find it. How do you search independent published books to find steampunk? Because they usually don't self-identify themselves.
Amazon, usually it's like they kind of... It's like whenever you're setting it up on KDP, they'll ask you if you have a publisher. And some people will put their own label on it. And usually if the label matches the pen name, you've more than likely found an independent author. Or if they don't, or if there's not a published by field on Amazon, that's usually a good indicator of an indie author as well.
And I think, and Gail Carriger just says that, a lot of it is it's the branding thing that we were kind of talking about earlier. And some of it is she says, she's transitioned from being steampunk to being fantasy. It's fantasy set in the Victorian era instead of steampunk.
Yeah.
Well, is there some kind of issue with that term? Has it gotten old?
I think that it's a perception, and there is a lot of perceptions. I come across it with my vampire fiction all the time. Almost every year I'm told, I don't want to see, someone says, I don't want to see any more vampire fiction. I've seen it all over the place. It's undead, it's all of that. And inevitably, it is one of the best sellers I have.
Okay.
And I think it's one of those perception kinds of things that comes up a lot in marketing. People say, "Oh, I've seen way too many. The market flooded with steampunk books, and so we don't want to see any more steampunk. So we'll maybe do a few by a few selected names, like the K.W. Jeters, the Gail Carrigers, and the rest get to kind of. We'll still publish, but we'll just market it under a different name."
And it's like with me, it's like I've also tried to branch out. It's like I started with steampunk, and then I did science fiction. Now I'm on the post-apocalyptic for my independent publishing thing, and it's just kind of finding that right tune that resonates with people and everything. Like there's this whole harem lit subgenre out there that is really big on Reddit and Discord, and I just kind of, it's like, oh, okay, this is a thing, and there are people who like this thing, so it's like, all right, let's try this for a few books and see how it goes. And so far, it's like Book of Cain is my best seller so far. It's not getting me on the New York Times bestseller list, but it's like when I just published second Book of Cain on January 30th. By the end of February, it had already made publishing costs. So I was like happy with that. So it's like, yay, another book that's profitable. If you're going down the indie publisher route, it's like get 2 or 3 books out there, see what the reception is to that. Take notes of what works, what doesn't work. I would especially encourage people to get onto writing forums or in websites. Like I did fan fiction for Star Trek for the longest time, but I wasn't necessarily getting the feedback that I needed to improve my writing. So because I started doing spicy scenes in Star Trek, let your imagination go wild on that one. I then transitioned over to erotica because they have a 5-star rating system. People can comment right there at the end of the story. It's like you see the results almost instantly, and you see how people are voting. Even if they're not commenting, they're still voting on your story at the end. and so I took that as an indicator, seeing how people were rating my stories, and just then tailoring my writing more towards what was working as to what wasn't working.
So are you saying the ears aren't the only thing that's pointy?
Pretty much. Thank you. We'll be here all week. Tip your waitress.
I actually got that one from Mark Leonard.
I'm not surprised.
Who played Spock's father in the original?
Yeah, Sarek. He played Sarek, yeah.
Also Romulan.
Yeah, Romulan commander in the original series as well.
Klingon in the first movie.
Yeah.
So, what have any of you used or know people who've used the strategy of starting off with short stories and maybe getting a response to the short stories and forums and stuff and seeing, like, this is really popular, I'll make it a whole book? Is that what you did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did, and what happened was that I was just browsing around the Reddit forums, and I came across this one in the Harem genre that he was talking about, and they were doing a short story collection, and I thought, I'll give this a try, and I put in the short story, and it was like this is, I think I have something here. But around that time, I had already put this out. It was something that was thought of between a friend of mine and I spent good 6-8 months on it, and then I did the short story, and I thought I'm really onto something with this. Let's keep going and see where it goes.
Not to mention, keep in mind, this guy has been fanboying over me for years. So he's like, and he keeps on giving me all these story ideas, and some of them were good, and some of them were like, I'm not interested. It's like, but you could really do this and this, and finally I'm like, there. It's like, dude, write the story. It's like,
what a nasty thing to say to a friend.
I know, right?
To his face.
And so it's like, dude, just write the story and see where it goes. I mean, do you have the imagination? And you're blowing up my inbox with all these different things. So it's like, put it to paper, write it. That's probably the second hardest thing for any writer is get it on paper. Mm-hmm. It's like, get it out there on paper first, and then we can make it look pretty afterwards. And that's where the editor comes in.
And I think, as far as the short stories versus long and which format you start in, I think different people are different on that. There are people who, I knew John Nichols, the Milagro Beanfield War novels and such, and he said he could never write a short story to save his life. He just could not ever tell anything under a few 100,000 words, and if you've read his novels, that's pretty much true.
That's pretty accurate.
But as far as, And Ray Bradbury was the master of short stories, and most of his novels were, in fact, what we call fix-up novels, where they're basically take vaguely related short stories and put them together. So different people are different, but I do think there is a value that if you have some short story skills, even if you've written a novel, start writing a few short stories and get them, market them out to different places, because that'll get you that experience potentially of working with an editor, of knowing maybe, like High Wraith Books, who publishes my most recent vampire book. I partly built the relationship by sending short stories to some of their magazines, and that's kind of what got me their ear to pitch a book to them that they then took on.
And with Catalyst, it's like I'm on my fourth short story with them, and I'm now to the point where I've actually pitched a novel idea to them to try to get out there as well. And because my first one, ironically, was not BattleTech with them; it was actually Leviathans, which is their steampunk airship game. That's still in it's coming out of Kickstarter, but they were republishing their old fiction for it, and I told them, it's like, hey, look, I'm literally a steampunk author. Here's my resume and everything, and I have this idea for you all of doing an airship battle in Alaska between the United States and Russia, because it's like that's some of the major factions. It's like Imperial Russia, the United States, France, England, Germany, that sort of thing. As the Great War just keeps on going on and on. Now you got airships involved in it. So I pitched the idea, and I threw in some Klinkin and Haida, which is Native Alaskans in Southeast Alaska. I threw in some of their lore as well, and made them crew of 2 of the airships that I used. And they're like going, "Oh my God, this is good. Please send us more." And I'm going, "Okay, well, I know your limit's of about 6,000 to 8,000 words. We don't care. Finish this. We want more detail on this." And so a test of Resolve came out to the Kickstarters for that, and that got me in through the back door to start writing BattleTech, and then now here I am 4 stories later pitching a novel, and it's just because I've built up that relationship with the editors and the technical fact check team, because after the editors are done, it goes to a team of people who make sure that it's lore correct and technical correct, and then they have their fun tearing it apart. And when I wrote Millennium Marauder back in issue 14 of Shrapnel, nobody had ever, to my shock, nobody had ever written up the startup process of a battle mech before. It's like, and they're like going, "Well, no, actually the fusion engine is usually on whenever they pull that lever," so it's like, but we don't have no one's ever cold started this a fusion engine before off of the assembly line. How does this work? So it's like, oh, cool, I get to write the lore for that.
It was scientifically viable, though, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, actually. I actually had to look up, I did a combination of APU engine startup operations that I remembered from my days with the airlines industries whenever we did brake writing. And I looked up how to start up a nuclear reactor. There's actual checklists you can find, and so I just kind of meshed the 2 together and everything, and it worked. They liked it.
So you pull the cord and you push the button.
Yeah, pretty much. Flip a few switches. Go to step 2.
Now the government knows your search pattern. Hey, he's interested in atomic.
No, it's okay. It's like. One time, it's like the joke goes. It's like FBI, please, FBI agent watching. I'm not a terrorist. I'm just trying to write a book. FBI responds immediately. "You're okay. Do you need a beta reader for that?"
How do you all find sensitivity editors?
Did
you see how I sprung that on?
That's a good question.
There's a hard question here, so bam.
And some of it is you kind of go, for sensitivity reading, a lot of that's your kind of beta reading group that might be readers of whatever ethnicity or whatever you're basically reading.
Whatever your target audience is, try to find a group, I guess, online and say, "Hey, I got the story. I need beta readers."
I mean, some of it was, for me, it was, when I wanted a sensitivity reader for Aldance originally, having been to the cons, I knew Ernest Hogan, who was a Latino writer, of some regard, and we'd had dinner a few times, and I just said, "Ernest, would you be willing to read this?" And that was kind of how it worked out.
Well, that seems awfully convenient.
I will not tell you how I find my vampire sensitivity.
Yeah.
They don't like to be outed.
They also don't like to come out during the day. So
well, I don't like to come out during the day very often either. So
well, that's because you're a strong
Well, then again, here in Arizona, who wants to come out during the day during this time?
There is that.
There is that too.
But yes, I think it just comes down to, it really comes down to networking, getting to know people, being, what do I want to say? Being outgoing, which all of us introverts,
Yeah.
Very, very shy.
That was the word I was looking for.
So it's like, we got about 15 minutes left. Anything else?
What would each of you suggest to add into a writing routine to make your writing session painless as possible? Like, it's where you don't get bombarded with writer's block or your inner critic, etc.
Well, I have 2 answers. One is a comedic answer, which is coffee.
That makes everything better.
Or tea, whatever's your speed. But the second, when it comes to that, as far as a writing routine, you kind of have to. It's kind of like building a habit. You start small, then you keep building on that until it's pretty much ingrained in you. Saying, oh, it's time to write. Let's see here. How much time should I put into this? Let's see here. I started 15 minutes. I'll put in 20 today.
I would just suggest whatever time you find, don't get so engrossed on one story, and this is probably why I have like hundreds of works in progress.
That was a question I was gonna ask.
It's like try to free write a bit. It's like go wherever your mind takes you and just write it down, or type it out. I mean, I tend to use Google a lot. My Google email. It's like I'll just put like, okay, this is going to be a professional story. This is the genre I'm writing in. Here's the working title I got for it, and everything like that. And then I won't have a recipient naturally because I don't want to actually accidentally hit send and put it out into ether. But it's like I will just sit there and I'll just write whatever ideas I have on that story. It might be a synopsis, it might be a scene, it could be a whole freaking chapter, or I might just get out a paragraph. And then whenever it's like, okay, my mind is taking me this place today, so I'll work on a different story and everything. And like I said, this is probably why I have hundreds of works of progress, because I don't try to, it's like, if I'm having a block on one story, it's probably because I want to write something on another story, and so I'll just focus on whatever story I'm thinking about at that point in time.
I think a lot too, different authors have different processes. I know authors who commit to, I'm going to write at least half an hour or an hour each day at this given time, and I think that
just a story.
That can be really productive. I tend to be a big plotter, like just extraordinary. You know, I plot out where my story's going to go, and then my characters sabotage me and do different things than I expected. But generally what happens is when I'm writing a novel, I'll have essentially like a 5-page document that's basically all the plot points that I want to try to hit. And usually my writing session is I'm going to address one of these plot points. And I don't knock myself out if I don't get it completely, but generally if I kind of go, I'm going to get from point A to point B in this plot point, that will get me through a writing session. Sometimes I'll do it, sometimes it's like, oh, it just came right out and it'll be done in 15 minutes. And then other days it's like, I struggle for a day to get that done, but I still have that goal in mind. When I do short stories, sometimes I'll do two or three scenes in a short story, maybe what I'm doing. Or if it's a short enough story, like if it's flash fiction, I'll just sit down and write the idea. That's how I deal with your problem of a lot of times I'll envision it as a flash fiction story, and then it's like I'll just write it, and then it's kind of out of my system. Yeah. Or it gets so ingrained in my system, I'm going to come back to it and do something with it later. I have one of my stories in this one that's going to probably do that to me.
And it's kind of funny. It's like, I mean, I don't know if you two have the same problem, but it's like whenever I finish a story, it's like random memory dump, memory flush, that sort of thing. And so if I have to have something that's continuity, I actually got to go back to my books and reread them. It's like, okay, what did I do here again? Because I am not a plotter by any means.
You're a pantser.
I am a pantser, also known as shotgun writing and everything. I'll just write whatever the heck comes to mind, and if it strings together a story, and then it's like, wow, how did I get 20 chapters on this again? It's like I'll start in the middle of a book, end of a book, just write a scene out at random. It's like, okay, how am I going to start this? But yeah, it's like I've only plotted out one book, and that's the one that I'm writing for Catalyst right now, and that's mainly because I'm doing a murder mystery, and so that one kind of I have to do a plotting on that one, and it's kind of forced me to do that.
But do you?
No, actually, yeah.
You can fool every editor doing a mystery. What's this chapter for? to distract the reader. Well, what's
Red
this?
herring.
But you built a character and they didn't go anywhere. Exactly.
Who's this herring guy? Red in
Every
your
story. This whole book is a red
Just
herring.
guy
Exactly.
with red hair. Yeah, right.
So, but yeah, it's like, because early on I tried doing the plotting stuff and it just wasn't working for me, and so I just started writing whatever comes to mind, and that worked a whole lot better.
My goodness.
But yeah, every author is different, and it's like, I don't know what he does.
It's a combination of the two between pantsing and plotting, because at first it's pantsing.
Oh, he's
like,
hybrid.
Yep.
Hybrid.
Yep. So at first it's pantsing, but then it's like, okay, let's take this and try to structure it. And when that happens, I usually start making outlines. But sometimes the outline changes. Like if the chapter is too big, it's like, okay, let's cut this in half and rework the rest of it. So my outline becomes almost as bloody with red ink as the actual manuscript.
Yeah, it's like, okay, this scene doesn't make any sense. Show me your notes.
Just write more murder mysteries.
Yeah.
Easy peasy.
Yeah, and I partly became a plotter because my second novel I started doing as a seat of the pants kind of novel, and I ended up writing myself right smack into a corner, and I had to figure out how to get out of it. And the way I got out of it was I started writing, okay, here are the things that have to happen. I put them on index cards. And I just started laying them out and then shuffling them so that they actually came out in the right order to make sure that things happened. And earlier plot points were also on index cards. I said, I have to move this here. This has to happen before this, and that has to happen before that. And finally, I was able to come out with something that I think was actually readable in the end.
Douglas Adams used to do that kind of thing.
Mm.
He would write his characters into these impossibly difficult cliffhangers, and then he would sit in the bathtub and try and figure out, how do I get my characters out of this particular situation? And very oftentimes it would take the problem and turn it into a solution. But it's a, you write to a certain point, and when you reach that certain point, then you're like, what do I do next?
Well, it's like he mentioned with the characters surprising you or doing their own thing or something like that. It's like it is kind of a fun surprise whenever a character just kind of reaches off your pages and smacks you and says, I want more screen time. It's like I had this like innocuous character who was just going to be like kind of a side thing in my second Fallen Stars book, Binaries, and then all of a sudden, next thing I know, it's like I have half the book written from his perspective, and I'm like going, oh hell. It's like, you were supposed to be a minor character, I want more. So let's see. We got about 8 minutes. So, any other questions, or should we just go straight to the book? Book plugging.
I'd like to know. I'm not familiar with. You're right. Actually, I've read some of David's, but
Elevator pitch time.
these ones. What are the books about? Elevator pitch. What have you been doing recently?
Okay. First, this one, The Sanguine Elf, is about a vampiric butler who begins a very, very forbidden and very secret romance with his master's elvish bride. And this one, Home for a Christmas Wish, is my love letter to all Hallmark Christmas movies about a young man who loses everything in his life. He has to move back in with his parents. But after a chance meeting with a homeless person, he discovers that his town is actually home to Fey people. And that's when he starts a relationship with these three women who basically help him through this tough time that he's in. And finally, Station Flannan is about a cargo pilot who's supposed to do one last job. And everything that can go wrong did go wrong. After his ship blows up, he has to spend the next 4 months on this faraway space station with 4 different people.
Okay, so my recent series is Book of Cain, which is post-apocalyptic, takes place here in Tucson. So if you're from here, it's like you'll definitely recognize the landmarks. So the first one is about the unofficial warlord of the wasteland all of a sudden has a couple of pretty ladies fall into his lap, and now he's stuck with them.
Warlord.
Yes. Oh, woe is me. Yeah, it's definitely in the harem subgenre. And then second book of Cain, he receives a distress call from the San Javier mission, and that is under siege, and he winds up getting a couple of nuns. So, so those are the most recent one. I still have my Fallen Stars series, which is space romance and erotica, which is Spartacus in space, but with a far better ending. Nobody dies. I'm not allowed to write sad endings. Thank my wife for that. Then there's my original series, The Jaegers of the Consortium, where the Jaegers are the international judge, juries, and executioners of the worldwide consortium. And it's basically if James Bond actually had to do his day job, as one of my British fans put it. Then on the more PG-13 area, we have my three Shrapnels issue 14, 19, and 24, which I have contributed in. These are anthologies. It's a collection of short stories. So you're not only like supporting me, you're also supporting the other authors who are in this book. And it's basically space opera, big stompy robots with really big guns. And this is, I mean, this one I always fanboy about because I've been dreaming about writing for Catalyst since I was a kid and BattleTech first came out. So it's like to actually write for them now and contribute to the lore of this universe that's been going on for 40 years now. It's just like a dream come true and very humbling at the same time. So.
Well, my very latest book is Vermilion Highways, which I co-authored with Lee Clark Zumpa, who is an entertainment writer for the Tampa area newspapers. And basically the way this came about was we had both been in a magazine a number of years ago called Blood Samples, and we became sort of fans of each other's writing. Lee's also been a picked for as a finalist for year's best fantasy and horror collections. But yeah, we in this case we decided after a number of years we said, okay, let's just toss some of our short vampire fiction into a stack and see what comes out of it. And we realized we had essentially this kind of fun travelogue and history of vampire kind told in short story, going from the distant past up to the distant future. So that's our latest, and that's from Wraith Publishing. My thing that's just about to come out is the latest in the Forgotten Lore series, which is an anthology series done by eSpec Books in connection with the Telltale Steampunk Festival, which has traditionally happened in Baltimore, is moving to York, Pennsylvania this year. Where each one of these is a steampunk anthology basically built around a theme of different authors. The first one was Edgar Allan Poe. Second one was Arthur Conan Doyle. The one that's upcoming is Lewis Carroll. So I got to write some Lewis Carroll whimsical poetry as part of my short story, which is also set around a utopian colony that was around Las Cruces at the time. Actually, one of the places where you hear about an orphanage of children that were actually treated well. And I thought that actually deserved to have a short story about that. And it's one of my Professor Maravilla stories, so connected back to Owl Dance again. So another lost story of that. Another thing I didn't bring with me is we're also engaged in coming out with a series of audio anthologies called Museum of the Omniverse, which, like I say, that's our partnership between my company, Hadrosaur Productions, and Sealy Studios here in Tucson. And basically they're collections of short stories where we have a full cast doing it with the full music. Jeff Moon from Nashville is doing our music on it. I have my first songwriting credit because they wanted an airship shanty for this, and I said, I don't know how to write an airship shanty. I basically just cobbled together something that sounded like about 2 or 3 other shanties I knew, and it turned into Jeff has a band called Thagamizer, and it is like their #1 best song at their concerts now. So there is a rock version out. You can actually buy the song independently as well as getting it as part of the anthology. But we do have the audio anthology. You can actually buy it here and take it home with you as a USB drive, or it's out on all the download platforms for audiobooks such as Audible and Spotify and all those different places.
All right. Well, thank you for coming, and come see us out over at the Sonora Ballroom, because that's where all 3 of us are at.
And don't miss the authors that didn't come here.
Yeah.
Come see us come see Drake and McTrowell and I at the Hot Potato School of Writing in about half an hour.
Yeah.
And come write a story with us.
I'm no longer invited to that event.
Got too steamy.
No, actually, I think I ticked Sparky off by calling Edge on the coin flip too many times.
But that's classic Battletech.
Right?
When the elemental says, head or tail,
Edge.
You win.
Can you think of the honor I would have gotten if it actually landed on it?
That would be so cool.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone. All right. Thanks, man.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Creative Play-In Podcast Network. If you enjoyed our show, please check out D&D Journey of the 5th Edition and Ragnarok Enroll a Scion Hero to Ragnarok Story. Also, check out our Patreon page for more content and behind-the-scenes things, as well as joining us for a one-shot game or two.